Hello, friends and fans! Welcome to Agato Getaway. My thing is still making sound. I thought I'd gotten that feedback to stop. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear that feedback. Let me know if you can. If you can't, that's great. But hello, I'm Lena. If you're new here, I am the lead designer of Agato Designs. I'm also a J fashion enthusiast, and today we're gonna make some of these silly old school style headdresses. I have a Discord server that I run mostly for my shop, but also in part for just myself and this YouTube channel and so on and so forth. I'm really excited to try and start doing a monthly kind of, what's the word? Craft project is what the plan will be. So for this month, I thought, why not start with these designs? So it looks like my main camera shut off, or the top-down camera shut off. Let me figure that out real quick. Sorry, guys, it's my first time using StreamYard, and let me see. Okay, there we go. He's back. So the plan is to make some of these today. Now I'm going to make a couple of them, and I'm going to make some inspired by the ones that I have here. This is not my entire collection of what I like to affectionately call maxi pad headdresses. I'm sure you can see why I call them that. They are an old school rectangle style headdress that is very popular in Lolita. They're not maybe as popular as they were back in the old school days. Most of the ones I have here are by different brands. This is a Bodyline one. This is an old Angelic Pretty one. I cannot remember the name of this brand. This is a smaller indie designer. This is another AP one. But you can see they all have slightly different ways that they're done. Most of the ones I have are just done with ribbon ties that just you wrap it around, tie it on your head. This one does have a little comb on it because this one's a scallop shape. It's kind of more of an advanced style that we won't be doing this exact one today. We're going to do more of these strictly rectangular guys. And I think for the design we're going to start with, we're going to go for the Bodyline style ones. These are both the exact same headband from Bodyline, just many years apart. This one is a lot older. It came to me without the ribbon lacing, which that's okay. I kind of like it without. This one came with, it's got additional lace underneath the ribbon lacing, which is very cute. And I like this bow style a lot better than this little bit more rectangular style one. And so we're going to start with these. Now, let me go ahead and clear this off. And let me see if oh, sorry, I'm figuring out stuff. Click on this to show on the screen, hide. All right, just making sure I can see all of the comments and things and such. It looks like I can. So, okay, going into materials and such, you will obviously need a pair of scissors and some thread. I'm just grabbing a random cone. I will be using my sewing machines today, but you can do this by hand. It'll take a significant amount of time longer if you're doing it by hand, of course. Next, I got a lot of my supplies for this particular project from the dollar store of all places. Hi, Felice. Felice. Hello. Hi. So yeah, I got all of my supplies from the dollar store because they started carrying fat quarters of fabric. You can find fat quarters in any fabric shop that you frequent at all. I don't think you can go into a place like Joann's and ask for a fat quarter, because what a fat quarter is they take half a yard of fabric and then they cut it the thick way instead of the thin way. So it is the same amount of fabric as if you were getting a quarter of a yard, except instead of it being just a thinner strip, it is wider, but half the total length from salvage to salvage. So let's see if this says on here what the actual dimensions are. It is 18 by 21 inches, which is perfectly fine for making just about any Lolita headpiece. I also found a bunch of different ribbon options at the dollar store. I have even more ribbon that I've set aside that I will probably also use, but whenever I'm there, I just check out and see what ribbons that they have and add them to my stash. Today, I was very excited to see this nice Clooney, like it's a crochet style lace. You guys can see, and I'm going to use this on at least one of the headpieces. The plan is to make a couple of headpieces today, and we'll see how many I actually get done. So I'm going to use this, all of these dollar store things, combined with other stuff from my stash, like thread, which again, you could buy at the dollar store. I'm trying to do like a budget version of this, and then we'll do a nicer version because I hoard lace. So speaking of hoarding lace, here's a bundle of crochet lace that I got from somebody else who's in a sewing Discord I'm in, and they just weren't using it, and so they sent it off to me, and I'm going to use this for the first headpiece that we're going to make. So again, the idea is to try and mimic this style. I'm showing you the pink one just because you can see the difference in color a little bit better than the all white. So there's two different ways that I can do this, because the other thing is, sorry, you guys are going to have to deal with my ADHD in this video because I'm going to be distracted. I also have that rose style lace. So we could make an almost exact copy of this if we want to. But I also really want to do just something with the dollar store one fabrics. So let's get cutting. I think for the size overall, this one I find to be a little bit small. So I'm actually going to use this AP one. You guys can see kind of just the difference. Oh, they're about the same size. They're about 1 inch difference in how long they are. So I'm going to pick a fabric, use this as the base, and start cutting. If you guys have any questions, Joann's has pre-cut fat quarters. That is correct. They do have pre-cut ones, but you can't go and grab just like any fabric you want and get a pre-cut or get a fresh fat quarter cut like you could if you went to like a grandma hole in the wall kind of quilt shop. They will just cut you a fat quarter, no questions asked, whatever fabric you want. Joann's does not offer that service. So, because I just got these, they have not been ironed, I recommend ironing your fabric. It'll definitely help make it easier to cut out because you guys can kind of see the creases and the curves that are here. Because the size of the thing we're making, it's not such a big deal. So I'm just going to measure this, and I'm going to plan on leaving about 1/4 inch of seam allowance because I like to sew my seams really close to the edges. If you are a more beginner sewist, I might recommend doing more like 1/2 inch, but that's just my personal preference. So I'm going to grab a pen or a pencil. Let's use a pencil and just mark roughly where that 1/2 inch is. I'm doing it by eye because that's how I roll. So here we have a rectangle worth of fabric, and you can see I could probably make 4 or 5 of these out of just this one strip of fabric that I have. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And the smarter thing to do, maybe if you were less of a risk taker than I am, would be to make yourself a pattern and to just take this and try and mimic that circular shape instead of doing it what I'm going to do. I'm now going to fold this over so that it's even. Let me check and make sure that the length is about where I want it to be. Yeah, because it's got about 1/2 inch on each side. And I'm going to fold this over so that the two edges are touching each other. And I'm just going to cut myself the curve. I'll fold it in half again. No, I'll just fold it like this. Okay. So I want it to be not too sharp of a circular shape. And I cut the folded part. And that is my rough rectangle. I'm not too focused on making it perfectly circular right now, because the next step is going to be to do the decorative details. So when you're constructing this, you've got two pieces. You've got the top and you've got the bottom. The top part, first of all of these lace details that you want to have on it, you're going to have to attach most of these before you sew the two pieces together. So like this little bit here that is decoration of this bit in the center, and then for this one, this bit in the center, that was added before they were put together. And then once those top details are on, you can put your lace trim around it and then make yourself a headpiece sandwich and turn it out. And then you do, for this one, the rose details were added on top after it was flipped. And this one was just top stitched about 1 centimeter away from the edge. And then the bows were put on. So also, after you put on the lace would be the time when you put these ribbons on, because they need to be sewn in first. So now that I've said a whole bunch of things that are probably very confusing, let us figure out how we want to decorate this piece. Like I said, I want to use mostly the dollar store fabrics that I picked up. So I'm going to start with that. I don't know how this is attached on here. I'm just going to rip this, toss this into my trash can or the table. I grabbed 2 of these. They're about 2 meters of fabric for the lace. I grabbed 2 just in case. And I think what I want to do is actually a crisscross design that's kind of like what's on the one here. You can kind of see if you peek under the bows that it continues underneath the big black bow that's here. So I think I'm going to do something like that. I mean, I can lay it out just to get an idea of how it looks before I actually cut it. So I think having 2 of those, 1 on each side, would be really cute. And then I could put bows just underneath it like how I did on that one. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and commit to that plan. And once you've got your idea of what you want to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my straight pins and just pin everything in place. And then I will top stitch each one of them using my machine. I'll bring that over. And I'll probably go ahead and mute my mic while I'm sewing because it's pretty loud. And I don't want to be a noise polluter in anybody else's space. So all right, so I'm going to take the top piece off. I'm going to put these guys in the back, put this guy over here, those in the back, have some water. This is your checkpoint. Take a sip of water. Hydrate before you dehydrate. All right. Now to position these. I think what my plan will be is to, I'm just going to top stitch them both. Trying to figure out if I have the centers crossed at the same point. I want to make it as even as possible. All right. Straight pins, straight pins. Straight pins. Pin this in place. For me, I'm just going to pin the centers and then put 1 pin on each side of the edges of the X's. In part because like my pins are so large. and in part just because I really don't want it to move. Do you guys have any particular designs you would like to see me do for future live streams like this? Leave a comment now, or if you're watching the replay, leave a comment now. I'm mostly doing this style of headdress today because I really like them. And I'm sure I've already said that, but I really like them. So I can always use more of these. I don't actually have a blue and white one, so this is exciting for me. That's a lie. I have one blue and white one that's the same as this bodyline one. But now I have a blue and white one that's like the AP one. If you want ideas on like what other kinds of decorations you can do, I'm planning on doing at least one more of these tonight. We'll see how much time each of these ends up taking because I am doing them live. It'll probably take me it would probably take me 30 minutes if I wasn't standing here talking and trying to like keep my workspace clean. But now it's time to sew. I don't have a third camera to show you the actual like sewing happening, but I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and stitch these really quick. Fortunately, it is just a very quick stitch. So we're going to do that. Except, of course, my machine has decided it does not want to sew. You know, like, of course that would happen while I'm trying to do a live stream. Let me see what happened. Let me see if I don't have to restart the whole machine. Okay, try again. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've sewn the two crosses. What I did was I did a back stitch on each corner and then I pulled out the pins as I came to each one of those points. Now, the next thing we're going to do is put lace around the edges of it. And in order for it to be nice and gathered, like on here, you either will have to pleat the entire thing by hand or you can gather it. which is what my plan will be, is I'm going to do a gathering stitch using my machine on this crocheted lace. Now, because this is a cotton, like, crocheted kind of thing, the edges do fray. So in order to kind of hide that fray, what I'm going to do is the same thing that they actually do on these, where where am I on the camera? Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it. Also, the directions are weird. Hello. Okay, now I can find it. Right here, you can kind of see it curves up like this, and then it curves here. There's two pieces of lace, one on this side and one on this side, that are curved and tucked into this seam right here, and then are hidden by this bow. On the other bodyline one that is the same, it's actually right on where the back of it would be, where it curves in, goes into the seam. So in order to do that and make my life easier, what I'm actually going to do is start my running stitch here on the bottom and then curve it going upwards. Now, to do a gathering stitch on most home sewing machines, what I do is I set my machine at the longest stitch length. And then depending on the type of fabric you're using, for me, if I'm using a very light fabric, like a mesh or a chiffon or anything like that, then it will gather it depending on how tight the stitch, like how tight the tension is. It'll gather it tighter or looser. I use that trick a lot when I'm gathering mesh lace or embroidered lace. For this, I'm probably going to have to tighten the gathers myself. Now, I just saw a whole bunch of people join in. Welcome to the stream. This is where we're at so far, and I'm gathering some lace to put onto this. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will answer them forthwith. So the other thing before I start gathering stuff, because I'm going to mute myself because my machine is loud, what I'm going to do is I'm going to gather it to a certain point and then actually pin it onto the headpiece as I'm sewing so that I know I have the right amount. Doing a project like this is a great use of scrap lace as well. You don't have to just have a fresh block that you have found. You can use just scrap pieces to use up, which I do have a lot of scrap lace, but I really want to have a vision for this guy. So anyway, from there, I'm going to start gathering this now. I don't know if you guys can see, but it actually ended up gathering it pretty well on its own. I'm just going to tighten up the stitches right here by the entrance if I can. It looks like he decided to do a silly thing, so I might not be able to right here. But that's okay. I can also just pleat it myself to get it to tuck in like that. So I am gonna stick it here on the end, like what they did on the pink one. And then for this, instead of pinning it straight so that I can kind of technically sew over the pins, I'm going to go ahead and pin them the direction in which I'm planning to sew. That way, as I'm sewing, I'm pulling them out as I go. I forgot to mute myself that time. Was the machine loud, guys? Could you hear it at all? I don't know how good the filter is on StreamYard. I've used StreamYard a few times for Bay Area K events, and I figured why not go ahead and use it for my own live stream now that I've decided I'm doing these. I'm just going to take my time and make sure I pin this in the right place because I don't give myself a lot of seam allowance. I do highly recommend giving yourself more than a 1/4 inch seam allowance when you're doing this. It is important to pin stuff though, because if I was doing this without pinning it, there is no way I could guarantee that I was going to end up with the lace trims in the positions I actually want them to be in. I'm just checking to see how much more. Oh, I've got enough. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing where I curve it. I can show you guys now what that looks like. Maybe because it's white thread on white lace, I just did like that shape. And so when I get closer to that, I will hand pull it and make the ruffles a little bit tighter. I know this is absolutely riveting entertainment where I'm just sitting here and pinning this all together. But yeah, so in other news, I have BlurredCon this weekend. My partner just showed up from down south, and they're going to be helping me at the event this weekend, which is very exciting. I've got them out in the living room already, full slave labor factory condition, where they're hand sewing buttons onto my JSKs right now. And that's okay. They're here to help me with tasks as I need it, which is great. It's always nice to have good help. Anyway, almost done. Where is the edge here? I'm going to cut this off. And then trim off the excess here. Do want to leave a fair amount of space on this material because it will fray even on the inside. Now you could serge the edges if you have an overlocker and kind of fuse them with those stitches, but that's a lot. And we're not here for a lot tonight. We're here for a thing. All right, made it to the edge. Set that up a little bit. 2 more pins, and then I can sew it. All right. Checking to see what it looks like. Did cut it a little bit short, it looks like. But that's okay. The beauty of handmade. It's unique. What I'm going to do to correct that is just loosen up this starting one some so that they do overlap properly. It's called troubleshooting. Look it up. All right. So here he's pinned. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top stitch all of this so that it's down, and then I'll flip it out. We can see what he actually looks like. Now, since you can't see what I'm actually doing, as I'm pulling the pins out, I'm pressing this down and I am following the edge of the fabric to make it as close to where I need everything to be as possible. I'm just going to go ahead and leave myself unmuted for a second. Please tell me if the machine gets too loud and you would like me to mute the mic. When I go over the corners, you guys may remember I didn't cut them super exact, but what I'm doing is as I'm sewing the rounded edge, I'm guiding the stitch to make sure it is round like it needs to be, which maybe is not a beginner sewer's technique, but it's definitely least intermediate. That's one of the reasons why I was not worried about how the rounded the bits were. I just hit the needle. It's okay, everything's fine. That's why you take out your straight pins as you sew. It's not good for your machine to hit straight pins. Coming up on the end. All right, I just did a bunch of back stitches right where I started and finished. All right, guys, so this is what he currently looks like. There's still a straight pin in there. There we go. So this is what it currently looks like. I do see that there's something weird going on right here. So I'm going to just have to check and see on the other side why it's doing that. And it looks like it's just how I sewed it. Okay. I'm going to go over that part real quick and round that corner out a little bit better. All right. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Now he should be more even. It's just pulling weird also because that's where I merged the edges. But this is what he looks like currently. Very cute. Now this kind of weirdness here that's happening because of the way I did this, I'm going to hide it with a bow. That's why we did it on the edge side. And so what this gives us now is a general idea of what the headdress is going to look like. And then from here, we can add on any details we want. In order to finish off this headdress, because it is about 90% done, I'd say, we need two things. First, we need our other piece right here. And the other thing we need is our ribbons. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm trying to use only dollar store stuff. I have this grosgrain ribbon, which actually is a little bit thin for what I want. So I'm going to go into my stash, see what I can find. I know I have some dollar store ribbon, but it's all cream. So what I'm going to use is this mega 25 yards of Eau Forêt, I think is the name of this brand. This came from Walmart. I have used a fair bit of it, but it was very reasonably priced. And so what I'm going to do is measure out however much I need to go from here and then to tie a long bow. Since I have some reference guides, I'm going to go ahead and use this as a reference and measure how long it is and then give it another 1/2 inch just so that that bit can be tucked into the seam allowance. And I'm going to cut 2 of those. So now it's the same measure. Cut 1. Use that to measure the second one. To finish off your ribbons, you're going to need some fire. And I just have a lighter that I keep here on my workspace. I'm going to go ahead and make the edges nice and pointed. I don't know if you can see that because of everything that's around. To finish off a pointy edge, you just pinch it back the same way you cut it, because when you cut it, you have to fold it in order to get that point. And then just run that real fast. Because it's a polyester, it fuses the edges of the ribbon. It's just plastic, so it melts itself. You should be careful when doing this. If you are not an adult, get an adult. And so that's fused. All right. So now that I have these, you can fuse the inner edges if you want, but you don't have to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them directly on the sides, pin that in place, and then I'm going to top stitch these down just to make sure they stay where they need to before I do the next part. Pin this guy down, and then to stitch them down, I'm just going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like 4 times. It won't take very long. It takes me longer to say it than to do it because the machine's very fast. That's 1. That was 4. No time at all. And the same to the other side. All right. Now that those are done, we need to take the top piece of our headpiece, or the bottom piece in this case, and attach that to the top. So I'm going to make sure all of the lace is tucked in and not going to get caught in any bits when I'm sewing. Tuck that guy like that. This guy like this. You want to be extra safe, you can straight pin these down, but what I'm going to do is actually straight pin the ribbon on top of it so that I know that the ribbon isn't going to get caught into the seam. And then you do have to be very careful when you turn these that you don't stab yourself. But what I will likely do is pin it so that the straight pin itself is very close to the edge, and I can pull that out before I start actually pulling it. So you can see I folded this back and forth a bunch of times. I'm going to take my straight pin, just carefully so that it stays flat on the bottom, and do the same to the other side. Straight pin. Okay, so now the ribbons are out of the way, the lace is out of the way, and the last thing to do is to match up this bottom bit to all of the points in the other side. This one actually goes, there we go, like that. Did I have it wrong? No, I was right. Okay. Now we get another very exciting pinning break. How is everybody's night tonight? I'm very excited to be here. I've been making a fair bit of like more classic, like traditional Lolita inspired headwear. Right before Acon, I was making a whole bunch of ribbon bows, and that was a lot of fun. I had originally planned on doing the ribbon bow tutorial for this, and then I decided that these types of headdresses was easier somehow. Thank you. I'm glad it's coming out nice. I am, to be honest, making it up as I go. I have 20-something years of sewing experience, and honestly, that's how I roll. I like to make it up as I go. I have done a few canotier headpieces. Those are the round ones. And it's honestly the same kind of process when you're making those as when you're making these. It's just round and not a rectangle. The challenge in doing this part, and the essential reason for doing this part, is trying to make sure it stays flat and that all the things are in here the way they need to be. If you wanted to make this a little bit more sturdy, you could put a layer of interfacing in at this step, or just a piece of polar fleece would just add a little bit more substance to the headpiece, if that makes sense. Well, I hope, Phyllis, that this video will motivate you to make some headpieces, because you've got a convention coming up too. And we all need stuff to go with our outfits. Although I'm not actually making this with a particular outfit in mind. I do have a fair bit of light blue stuff. This one is extra bulky because I insisted on using the crochet lace, which is not the thinnest of fabrics. So, all right, that's my last pin. I now have what looks very much like a hygienic pad here. What I'm going to do to sew these, you can see all of my uncut little things, but more importantly, you may be able to see the 1/4 inch stitch that I ran along this side. And that, my friends, is my guide for sewing this whole thing together. The plan is to leave probably about a 1.5 inch, like at least 2 centimeter, maybe 3 centimeter gap on one side. And that's where I will use to pull the entire thing and turn it right side out. A cardboard bookmark. A cardboard is, you know, the funny thing is I know some people who do use cardboard when they're making their headpieces, and I would not recommend it. So I just started right around the center, and you guys can kind of maybe see what I'm doing here. Started kind of by the center, and I backstitched because you should always backstitch. Let me move these over in the front. That way I can actually more easily pull them out. All right, here we go. Sorry, I did a backstitch because my line wasn't quite straight. This is so bulky, I'm having to kind of like help feed it through in some parts. Coming up on the end. All right. So you can see on this side, I left a gap right here. And we're going to turn it out. So from the gap, I can reach in and I can take out these straight pins that are right here because it's just wide enough for me to reach my fingers in. That way I'm not stabbing myself. Oh, I am going to stab myself. I put this pin in backwards. Wait, can I finagle this to get it out and not stab myself a whole bunch? Yes, I can. Okay. Make sure when you're pinning these that you pin them so that the pin heads are both pointing towards the center. All right. And then to turn this out, I'm going to start by grabbing one ribbon on one side and use that as kind of my lever point. And then pull that out. Let me get the other ribbon out actually, because they're very easy to get some of the bulk out right away. And they can be used to kind of pull those edges in. Next, I'm actually going to use the lace as my leverage because that is the most bulky part. And you do have to think a little bit about how much bulk you're pulling through this center opening at a time. And we're basically flipping the entire thing inside out from what is, 1.5, almost 2 inches measure. You don't want it to be too wide because you do have to close it up in the end. And you don't want it to be too skinny, otherwise this step is incredibly difficult. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the laces along this edge, just so that the last part that comes out is the one that's closest to it. I can't tell which camera it's easier to see this on right now. Go, Ruffles, go! Wait. Click. Go, Ruffles, go. This part definitely is like a wee bit of finagling. And then there we go. All right. So here's what he looks like currently. We've got the 2 ribbons that are underneath. You can kind of see the ribbons. This side where I attach the lace is just wanting to hang out in a weird way. Okay, so that's what the bottom looks like. And this is what the top looks like. What I'm going to do, this is just, I think if I did this again, I'm going to tell you guys now that you can learn from my mistakes. I would do this on the side because it's on the curve. It wants to like form the curve to be matching the like curve of this. And one of these had to be stretched out. I think this one ended up trying to cover more fabric than what I actually originally wanted it to. And looking at it now, I didn't even have to do that. But we're learning as we go. And it is a little bit uneven, the gathers here. I could have definitely gathered it a little bit more. Could have spent more time on that if I wasn't trying to live stream this. But anyway, so this is what we have. So you can see the opening right here because the ruffles are trying to peek out. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a top stitch that goes around the entirety of the edge. And if we wanted to put this style of lace around here, this is the step we would now do it. Do you guys think I should go ahead and add this lace onto here, or should I leave it as is? Get your votes in now. The polls close in 30 seconds. Because it wouldn't be too difficult to do at this point. This is the point where we would want to do it. What do you guys think? Lolita ASMR. More lace. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put. So for adding this, I'm going to start it by the edge where I've started all of these because I'm just going to, I think, make giant bows to stick right on the edges. And we're literally going to mimic how they've done it here because that's literally the lace starts and ends, it overlaps on this side. And then I'm just going to put lacing through the center, or I won't put any lacing at all, and it'll just be an accent detail. I need to check the edge that has the hole is right here. I'm going to put this pin just so that I know. And then I'm also going to pin all of this lace. Which direction do I need to sew this? This way. Ooh, that is thick. My machine is going to hate this. Maybe I won't pin this, and I'm just going to... I do need to pin it. You should pin this because otherwise it may come out uneven. You're stitching two sides together. We're all on an adventure here together right now of trial and errors. If you guys are enjoying this, let me know and I'll keep doing it. The great thing about my usual YouTube videos is I can edit out how bad my ADHD is, and I can't do that right now. As I pin this down, I'm like, what if I used a different floral lace to edge it with? No, we're going to stick with this one. I've already pinned half of it. I don't know if anyone else ever watched Smallville, but for some reason I'm thinking about the love interest and how she carried around a piece of the rock that killed her mother. And I just feel like that's weird. Okay. So I've made it to the part where the opening is, and I'm just going to very intently place the pin with great intent to make sure that I've got it closed where it needs to be. That is the most important part of this. He's closed right here. I don't even think, some of them go through, but not all of them go through, and that's kind of okay because as I'm sewing, what I'm going to do is make sure that it's sitting the way it needs to underneath. So, just got to make sure the whole thing ends up flat at the end. All right. Made it all the way around. Let me click this. All right. And now we get to sew it down. When sewing this, make sure you do not catch your head ribbon in the machine. Make sure that the whole guy is flat, and make sure you take out the straight pins as you sew. Gotta bring water, stay there. Machine back over. All right. Ribbon. I think I'm gonna do, no, I'll do, this is the same. Got it on like the mid-tier stitch length because I don't want it to be too loose. Okay. Oh, he's not complaining as much as I thought he would be. Yeah. Whew, that is a lot. Oh, I lost the straight pin. That's fine. It's stitched over there. Knock it out. The good thing is I'm actually going to be going over the opening. What are you going on? Those corners are bulky. Okay. All right. I can't even tell if the pedal foot was up because the fabric is so tight underneath it. All right. I'm cutting a whole bunch of loose threads. Just give me one moment. Let me show you guys what he looks like. Okay. I definitely stitch it cleaner on the bottom than I did on the going around. Here is what he looks like, guys. Now, from here, you could put lacing in it so that it's like this guy, where it's got the ribbon lacing that goes through it, but just in the center bit. I think I'm going to, at some point, add some ribbons to the edges. Let me see. I have these pre-made ones that I got off of Amazon for a different project, but they seem a little small. Oh no, those look cute. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand stitch those on. I'm going to grab the dollar store. Where did I put him? This dollar store grosgrain that is the same white as the long one, and add a little bit of lacing, probably just from here to there. So literally only like 4 or 5 loops. And I don't know if those are going to be even though, because I did not do this with that in mind. Even enough. Counting now. Yes. So that there will be another little like tied bow right there. And the thing that makes this funny is it's literally going to be one ribbon that goes back and forth and then another ribbon that goes back and forth. That way I can have 2 bows tied on either side. Ooh, that rhymed. So I am going to go and sew this stuff on off screen. I had planned to do this stream for an hour, and I had originally thought I'd be able to make 2 headpieces in that time. We've got 1 done. So that's a thing. But thank you everyone who actually tuned in, and let me know if you enjoyed this. I will do more of them if you guys like it with more notice next time. Because I have WordCon this weekend, I was like, I don't have time to actually do a full-on film a video and edit and get that all done this week. Although, because I have my partner up here with me this week, they're going to help me film a couple of things. And then I'll have my regularly scheduled videos for next week, and I think next week we'll either do a live stream, not a live stream, we're going to do either a lookbook. This is the live stream. We're going to do a lookbook. We're going to do a con review. We're going to talk about BlurredCon, and then we're going to do one for Techo. I'm working on currently one is another packing video that's packing how to travel for an event with Lolita. That's Lolita focused for a whole weekend. And I'm going to do my usual nonsense where I pack 9 outfits, and it'll be great. So look forward to that. If you guys enjoyed this video, yeah, I've already said to let me know, but please let me know. If you want to see this finished headpiece, because it's 95% done, and I'm just going to finish it up off screen. I'm going to put a photo of it on the Instagram. And if you're not currently a member of my Discord, I will leave a link for the Discord invite on the description of this video after it is published for, rewatch. And if you came here from my Instagram, there's a link to my Discord in my bio on my links page. And yeah, I've also got links to it on all of my other videos on YouTube from the last 3 or 4 months. They should all have the invite links to the Discord. So I hope this scratches the itch for anyone who wanted to see more sewing videos. Again, if you like this, I'll do another one next month, at the beginning of the month. And the idea behind these was for a sewing challenge on the Discord server. So I would love to see you guys make your own headband, like maxi pad style headpieces. If you want to do a different style of headpiece as well, please show it to me in my Discord. Tag me on Instagram. If you put it on the Discord, please put it in the crafting corner channel. And yeah, we can all share all of our amazing creations together. So with that, I am going to go and finish continuing my BlurredCon prep because we load into the convention tomorrow. And I have a whole bunch more gay stuff I need to make. So with that, thank you guys so much for coming. I had a lot of fun doing this live stream, and thank you guys for tuning in. And I know this is like the longest intro I've ever put out because I just want to make sure I say everything. But thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next live stream or in my Discord or on Instagram or maybe even in person this weekend at BlurredCon. Bye. Bye, guys. And